The scene opens with high drama from a movie playing on screen. A man is shown in extreme distress, his face contorted in a scream as he desperately yells, "W, wait a second. Save me." His plea echoes, filled with terror. The movie reaches its conclusion, with the word "finish" displayed on the television screen. In front of it, a group of friends are shown from behind, completely engrossed. One of them, still reeling from the film, can only manage to say, "Amazing." The friends are overcome with emotion, tears streaming down their faces in a comically exaggerated display of sentimentality. One of them turns to the others, seeking reassurance. "This is really something, right? It's not just me, right?" They all cry in agreement, deeply moved by the film. Energized by the movie, the friends decide they should watch another one starring the actor Ken Takakura. One of them, Yuji, turns to his friend Tsukasa and says, "Got it, Tsukasa? Delinquents gotta be strong. Got it." Using the film as a life lesson. Tsukasa looks slightly taken aback. Yuji, still completely hyped up from the movie, passionately yells, "Take a good look at Ken Takakura. He's someone that I can call a man." His friends, Eiji and Ken Takakura, share his enthusiasm, agreeing on how cool the character was. Tsukasa, however, looks on with a bit of bewilderment. Suddenly, a man with a distinctive pompadour hairstyle, introduced as rock and roller Inao Jimmy, appears. He confronts the group with an aggressive, "Who the fuck are you?" One of Tsukasa's friends quickly diffuses the situation, saying, "Ah, my bad. He's a friend of mine. Drop the Yakuza look." Now Jimmy lets out a series of strange, theatrical laughs. The group watches him, completely confused by his bizarre behavior. Yuji, impatient, yells at him, "Hurry up and talk, fucker." While on a call with his "my honey," now Jimmy is interrupted by confused Yuji. Jimmy then reveals why he's there. "The truth is my younger sister. She said she liked Tsukasa." The group is shocked by the news. Yuji exclaims, "What? You have a sister?" While Tsukasa blushes, flustered. A comical, glamorous image of Jimmy's sister appears in their imagination. Now Jimmy dramatically announces he will introduce his sister to Tsukasa, arranging a meeting for them at Hiwa Park at 3 o'clock. He assures his "my angel" that his sister is a beauty before making a grand exit, leaving the friends to deal with this unexpected turn of events. At Hiwa Park, the friends are gathered discussing the arranged meeting. They're skeptical about how cute now Jimmy's sister could possibly be. Yuji even tells Tsukasa to be sure to bust his face in. Then, one of them spots a girl in the distance. A beautiful girl with long hair appears in the park, looking around as if searching for someone. Her entrance is gentle and almost ethereal, capturing the attention of everyone nearby. The friends are left speechless, their skepticism replaced by awe. Yuji turns to Tsukasa and stammers, "She's gorgeous, huh? Tsukasa?" Tsukasa, completely smitten, can only let out a goofy as his face comically melts in admiration. Just as the group is admiring the girl, two sleazy-looking men approach her, trying to hit on her with lines like, "Hey miss, you alone, and where you from?" The friends watch in dismay as the girl is harassed. Yuji panics, "Shit, she's been spotted. Someone's hitting on her." He urges Tsukasa to intervene, telling him that if he saves her, she'll fall for him. With a determined look, Tsukasa agrees, "I'm doing it." The girl politely tries to turn down the man, explaining that she's waiting for someone. In the background, Tsukasa's friends are cheering him on like spectators at a sporting event, shouting, "Go Tsukasa, don't lose." As he prepares to step in, Tsukasa reflects on his own weakness. He admits to himself that he's never really won a fight before. However, he finds his resolve in the thought that becoming a delinquent might win him the affection of a Miss Michi, revealing a different motivation for his actions. With newfound determination, Tsukasa charges forward with a powerful "URAH," yelling, "I'm gonna win," as he prepares to confront the two men and prove his strength. A strange, small, round man in a suit suddenly appears, cheerfully greeting the girl with a wave. "Were you waiting long?" he asks. "I've been waiting for so long." Tsukasa's friends look on, utterly baffled by this unexpected arrival. The situation gets complicated. The small man turns out to be the girl's date. As she scolds him for being late, now Jimmy confronts Tsukasa, demanding to know what he's doing. Tsukasa finds himself cornered by the girl's brother and the two aggressive men from before. Tsukasa's friends watch from a distance, confused. What the hell is Tsukasa doing? One of them asks. They notice he's completely different from how he was before, and that his source of power is all gone. It's clear that Tsukasa is in serious trouble. Tsukasa is getting beaten up by the two thugs. His friends debate whether to intervene. So we're just going to let him get beaten up in front of us, one asks. But another counters, how will he get stronger if we intervene? Tsukasa, on the ground, can only curse in frustration. While Tsukasa takes a beating, his friends watch with wide, unsettling smiles, seemingly amused by his suffering. The scene highlights the absurd and perhaps toxic nature of their friendship. Tsukasa, in pain, grits his teeth and mutters, "Shit." The scene descends into utter chaos as panties start flying through the air, thrown by an unseen person. Tsukasa is in a full-blown panic, yelling in confusion. The two thugs who were beating him up are now completely bewildered, one of them exclaiming, "Wait a minute, what the fuck is this?" In the midst of the chaos, Tsukasa stumbles backward and falls, landing right underneath a girl with braided hair and glasses. As he looks up in surprise, he finds himself in a rather compromising position, with a clear view up her skirt. Continuing the chaotic scene, Tsukasa is on the ground looking up at Kumi, the girl he just crashed into. His friends in the background, however, have a different focus. One of them notices the compromising angle and exclaims, "I can see her panties," while the others look on with shocked, comical expressions. Seeing that Tsukasa is in trouble and outnumbered, the girl, Kumi, gets a determined look on her face. With a sweat drop running down her face, she declares, "I'm stepping in," ready to join the fray. The scene abruptly shifts. A beautiful woman with long, flowing blonde hair appears, her expression cold and distant. She looks directly at Tsukasa and delivers a devastating line. "Tsukasa, we're over." This is Michi, the girl from his thoughts. Tsukasa, looking heartbroken and confused, pleads with her. "Why? Haven't I become a good delinquent?" Michi doesn't answer his question, instead looking down with a detached gaze and telling him, "Be sure to take care of that girl." Suddenly, Tsukasa jolts awake with a scream. He's in his bed, sweating and panicked. To his utter shock, he finds Kumi, the girl from the park, sleeping soundly beside him. The entire confrontation seems to have been a surreal nightmare. Still trapped in the logic of his dream, Tsukasa panics. He sees Michi walking away and desperately calls out to her, "Wait, Miss Michi, wait." He tries to get up, shouting that it's all a misunderstanding, while having a bizarre internal monologue about his own body's lack of reaction. Tsukasa finally wakes up for real, tears streaming down his face as he cries out, "Miss Michi." The scene then cuts to reality, where he is sitting on the floor of his room, looking embarrassed, surrounded by his friends and a concerned-looking Kumi. His friends immediately start mocking him for his pathetic performance in the dream. Yuji scolds him, "What you ask? Something disgraceful. You still can't win a fight, huh?" Ken Takakura adds, "Despite Kumi helping out, if we didn't step in, you'd be a lot worse." With tears welling in her eyes, Kumi timidly speaks up, asking, "Who is Miss Michi?" Tsukasa is startled, realizing she must have heard him crying in his sleep. Yuji quickly intervenes to cover for his friend. He grabs Tsukasa in a headlock and loudly proclaims, "Nobody, nobody at all," trying to shut down the conversation before Tsukasa can say anything incriminating. Continuing his attempt to play matchmaker, Yuji shouts at Tsukasa, "Idiot, this girl likes you. If you play this right, you can get her before Michi." Yuji gets even louder, laughing and dismissing Michi as really nothing to a confused Kumi. He then tells her, "Do I look like a guy that'd lie?" While making nonsensical noises, creating an incredibly awkward atmosphere. An uncomfortable silence falls between Kumi and a grinning Yuji. A moment later, a close-up on their eyes shows them both sweating and looking tense, as if realizing the gravity of the situation Yuji has created. The tension is broken when Tsukasa suddenly collapses, foaming at the mouth in a dramatic comedic faint. Kumi and the friends panic, rushing to his side and screaming his name, with one yelling, "Call a doctor! A doctor!" Later, Tsukasa is sulking with his arms crossed. His friends are trying to console him, with Yuji saying, "Don't be mad, Tsukasa. I apologized," but Ken Takakura bluntly states, "This happened because you're weak." Their argument is cut short when Eiji notices someone approaching the door. The door slides open to reveal Baby, the bizarre, round man from Tsukasa's dream, waving cheerfully. The entire group, including Kumi, stares in shock, unable to believe that a figment of Tsukasa's nightmare has appeared in the real world. Tsukasa recognizes him instantly. As Yuji stares in shock, a sinister, shadowed face with a sharp grin is seen looking on, hinting that this strange arrival is part of a larger plan. To everyone's surprise, Yuji breaks the silence with a cheerful greeting. "Yo, I've been waiting. What took so long?" Ken Takakura and Eiji are confused, asking how he knows this guy. Yuji simply gives him a knowing wink. In a flurry of motion, Yuji and the other friends grab the strange man and rush out the door, shouting, "You guys wait here. We'll be back later." They leave Tsukasa and Kumi behind, completely alone and bewildered. Tsukasa and Kumi are left alone in the room, an awkward, intense silence hanging between them. As they stare at each other, one of them gets nervous. Outside the room, Eiji has a thought. "I wonder if he's doing all right. I left a condom in a place he should check." He and the others are shown smoking, a puff of smoke coming out of Tsukasa and Kumi as well, who are very tense. Outside, the friends lounge around, confident their plan will work. All the conditions are met. A normal guy wouldn't be able to hold back. One says. Yuji confidently states, "Whatever happens, Tsukasa is still a guy after all. He'll definitely do it." The scene shows the bizarre extent of the friends' plan. They are parading down the street with Tsukasa in a wooden cart being pulled by Baby. They yell at him to hurry up, creating a public spectacle. Back in the room, Tsukasa and Kumi are sitting together, trying to make conversation. Tsukasa is clearly flustered, wondering where his friends went. He laughs nervously, thinking Yuji, Eiji, Hisao, someone come back. I don't know what to do. Kumi breaks the awkwardness by presenting Tsukasa with a shopping bag. "Here," she says, pulling out his jacket. "This is my jacket," Tsukasa says, surprised. Kumi smiles warmly and replies, "I borrowed it from you. Thanks for that time." Tsukasa is completely overwhelmed by her simple act of kindness. As Kumi blushes and confesses, "I've never been treated so kindly by a guy like that before." Tsukasa practically short-circuits, steaming up as he becomes a flustered, speechless mess. The intimate moment continues. Tsukasa, sweating nervously, asks for confirmation. "All right, it's Kumi, right?" Kumi, equally flustered, looks at him and replies, "Why, yes." In a bizarre attempt to be charming, Tsukasa suddenly strikes a strange pose, sticking his rear out and shouting "Booty." Kumi is left speechless. Tsukasa immediately regrets his decision, thinking, "Shit, she didn't react. This is embarrassing." To Tsukasa's relief, Kumi covers her mouth and giggles. "Tsukasa, you really are strange," she says. Tsukasa remembers his friend's advice to get her before Michi and lets out a small, hopeful he. As Tsukasa watches Kumi laugh, he has a moment of clarity. A single tear of resolve runs down his face as he thinks, "With this girl, I can do it." He seems determined to finally move on from his past heartbreak. Tsukasa repeats his newfound mantra, "I can do it." Kumi looks at him confused and asks Tsukasa, "What's the matter?" The scene then cuts to Kumi, sitting on the edge of the bed as a determined Tsukasa approaches. In a dark, stylized panel, Tsukasa moves towards Kumi on the bed, his intentions clear. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation as he gets closer. Tsukasa leans over a nervous Kumi. The scene then cuts to his friends, still pulling the cart in the dead of night. They complain, "It's so dark now. How far are we going? I'm starving," creating a comedic contrast to the romantic tension indoors. The story cuts to a different location, where a woman in a kimono is having a public meltdown in front of a luxury car. "What the hell are you doing?" she screams. "Where did he go? Where did he go? I can't take it anymore." Inside a traditional Japanese house, the woman, Kumi's mother, is being held back as she tries to leave. "Let go of me. I'm about to find Tsukasa," she yells, asking where his father is. In another panel, a character is seen hiding under a blanket next to a sign that reads, "Dad's not home right now." The blonde-haired Michi appears, and Kumi's mother confronts her. "What are you doing? You said you'd get him, right? Where is he?" she demands, while her frantic entourage creates chaos in the background. With a sinister smile, Michi looks on. Kumi's mother instantly recognizes her. "Ah, yes. Miss Michi." Kumi's mother then asks Michi, "Can you help us out over here?" Kumi's mother frantically shouts her request at Michi. "Find Tsukasa and bring him home. Teach him the ways." Her husband tries to interject. "Honey, you can't make Miss Michi do that," but is immediately silenced with a sharp, "Shut up." Michi, with a manipulative glint in her eye, calmly asks, "I don't mind doing it, but why don't you contact the police about it?" Her question seems designed to corner Kumi's flustered mother. Kumi's mother stammers an excuse. "I mean, the police are busy people." Michi dismisses her, saying, "Furthermore, just bringing him home isn't going to fix anything." Michi confidently lays out her analysis of the situation. "He's clearly got an objective in mind here. He won't be coming back," she says, establishing her control. "Well, for now, I'll help her try to find him." Back in the bedroom, Tsukasa is positioned over Kumi, but finds himself hesitating. "Jay, just what should I do now?" he thinks. Suddenly, a vision of a nude Michi appears in his mind, startling him. The vision of Michi completely throws Tsukasa off. He's shocked, thinking, "I see." As he looks down in defeat, his friend's voice echoes in his mind. "This girl likes you," giving him a jolt of courage. Driven by a mix of desperation and his friend's advice, Tsukasa decides to make a move. "One time is fine, right?" he thinks as he clumsily fumbles with the buttons on Kumi's blouse. As Tsukasa continues his clumsy attempt, a close-up reveals a single, heartbreaking tear rolling down Kumi's cheek. She is quietly crying. Tsukasa freezes, his eyes wide with shock as he finally notices Kumi's tears. He scrambles back, apologizing profusely. Outside, the headlights of a car appear in the darkness. Tsukasa's friends are finally returning, walking down the street. "We've finally made it close to home," one says. "I wonder how it's going." Another muses, completely unaware of the disaster unfolding inside. Yuji smirks confidently. He's probably doing it now. Full of anticipation, the group decides to peek. They grab the still-confused baby and rush towards the apartment, shouting, "Let's see." The scene inside is far from what the friends expect. Tsukasa is on his hands and knees on the floor, looking mortified. Kumi sits on the bed with her back to him, her posture showing her distress. Overcome with shame, Tsukasa struggles to apologize. Well, it was my first time with a girl after all. I only thought about myself. I can't say it enough. I'm really sorry." Tsukasa bows his head to the floor, sweating and shouting with genuine remorse. "I'm truly sorry." From the bed, Kumi quietly looks over her shoulder at him and says, "It's fine." Tsukasa is stunned by her forgiveness. Kumi, despite the tears still fresh on her face, offers him a gentle, reassuring smile. "It's fine," she repeats, her voice soft. To Tsukasa's surprise, Kumi takes responsibility for the situation. "This isn't only your fault," she says, looking down shyly. "I'm also to blame." Kumi explains that if she had been more direct with her feelings from the start, the situation wouldn't have escalated. She confesses, I don't want you to think bad of me." Kumi shows a surprising amount of insight, admitting, "I know you don't have strong feelings for me, but I really thought it should be fine. Tsukasa listens, still processing her mature words. The emotional weight of the moment is shown through a chaotic sketch style, reflecting both Kumi's tearful confession and Tsukasa's overwhelmed, blushing reaction as he begins to understand. With a mix of vulnerability and determination, Kumi looks at Tsukasa and makes her heartfelt plea. I really wanted to try and make you have feelings for me. Deeply moved by her honesty, Tsukasa can only manage a quiet, thank you. Outside, his friends, who have been eavesdropping the whole time, are comically weeping. What nice girl. One of them sobs. The scene cuts away to the manipulative Michi, concluding her own mysterious business. I see. When I find out, I'll contact you. All right, she says coolly. As she hangs up, she smirks, while Tsukasa's friends are still shown crying about the youth and love they just witnessed. Michi walks with confidence through a bustling city street at night. She stands out from the crowd, a predator moving through her territory, completely detached from the emotional drama unfolding elsewhere. The scene shifts. Kumi, now dressed up with her hair in cute buns, is waiting for someone. As time passes, she sighs in disappointment, realizing her date isn't coming. As I thought, he's not coming. Kumi walks off dejected. She assumes Tsukasa must be mad after what happened and decides to go home. Suddenly, she's startled by a loud voice shouting, Tsukasa, why the fuck did you forget such an important thing? The scene flashes back, revealing a chaotic argument between Tsukasa and his friends. It turns out Tsukasa had forgotten about his date with Kumi. The friends are shown running frantically. One of them is dressed in a ridiculous heavy metal outfit. You were invited by Kumi to go on a date, another yells. The one in costume complains, because you said that delinquents like heavy metal. You really think she'll think I'm cool in this outfit? Back in the present, Tsukasa's friends finally arrive at the meeting spot, with one still wearing the absurd long-haired wig and outfit. They freeze when they see Kumi, and she stares back at them, utterly shocked. Kumi, seeing the bizarre group running towards her, immediately panics. Thinking she's being accosted by perverts, she screams at the top of her lungs, "Someone call the police! Something's coming out of his pants!" The story cuts to another scene where Michi is relaxing in a lounge, a drink in her hand. She picks up a ringing phone, while in the shadows behind her, the menacing eyes of an unknown man are visible. Michi listens on the phone, simply saying, "Got it. Thanks." The person on the other end is a man with a mohawk, who nervously requests, "By the way, about the thing before, please don't mention it to Shugahara." The man with the mohawk seems to be reporting a failure. "Yeah, all right," he says dejectedly, ending his call with a simple, "Sorry." Kumi is shown looking on, confused. Flashing back to before the date, Tsukasa's friends are at his place. Yuji angrily blames Tsukasa for the heavy metal costume fiasco. "Don't worry about it. It's Tsukasa's fault," he tells a friend in the wig. Just as they are about to leave for the date, Yuji stops them. He turns to Kumi and asks, "By the way," Yuji physically drags Tsukasa away, saying, "I'll bring him back real soon, just 1 second." Kumi, completely misinterpreting the situation, giggles to herself, thinking he's probably telling him to properly take care of me. Yuji pulls Tsukasa into another room for a private, serious conversation. "Listen, Tsukasa, I'm gonna only say this once," he begins before bluntly telling him, "Forget Miss Michi." Tsukasa protests, "Wait a minute. There's no way I can do something like that." Yuji fires back, grabbing him, "You idiot. If you keep this up, then you'll be nothing but a scumbag." Yuji gets right in Tsukasa's face, delivering a harsh truth. "The one who will be destroyed will be you. Only you." He then grabs a 40-ton weight, emphasizing his point as he continues to lecture a terrified Tsukasa. The lecture continues as they walk to a coffee shop where Kumi is waiting. "Like I said, forget about Miss Michi." Yuji insists. "If you can't, then Kumi is out of the question. She's way too sweet of a girl to let go." From their car, Tsukasa's friends panic as they realize his plan. He's going to tell Kumi everything about her, despite all you've done to help him, one says. Meanwhile, Kumi is blissfully unaware, happily telling Tsukasa's story about her brother. Tsukasa sweats, only half listening as Kumi recounts how her brother childishly lit a bunch of fireworks while still holding them. He nervously laughs along, trying to find the right moment to bring up the difficult topic of Michi. Kumi notices Tsukasa sweating and laughing nervously, asking him what's wrong. Internally, Tsukasa is struggling. What the hell? I thought it would be easy to say. I can't say it. Just then, their conversation is interrupted. A familiar, confident voice cuts in with a cheerful, "Hey there." Tsukasa looks up and is horrified to see his ex, Michi, standing right at their table. Kumi is shocked by Tsukasa's extreme reaction. His face comically melts in terror as he stammers out, "Miss Michi." Michi feigns innocence, asking, "What's with that reaction? No need to react like that." As Tsukasa continues to stammer, her gaze then shifts to Kumi, and a tense silence falls between the two women. Kumi is immediately struck by Michi's beauty, thinking she's so pretty. So she's Miss Michi. From her lookout spot, Tsukasa's friends are in a full-blown panic. Oi, oi, this is spiraling out of control. Shit. Michi turns her charm on Kumi, asking for her name. After Kumi introduces herself, Michi makes a power move, offering to pay their bill. "It's fine. You're taking care of Tsukasa for me," she says, treating Kumi like hired help. Kumi, flustered, can only reply, "You're too sweet." Tsukasa, meanwhile, is completely frozen, his eyes glued to Michi, unable to react as she takes control of the situation. The scene shifts to an apartment building at night. Inside, Michi coolly applies her lipstick, getting ready. Rock and roll lyrics float across the screen, setting a rebellious and dangerous mood. In another room, Kumi is also getting ready, looking at pictures of Tsukasa that she has taped to her mirror. The same song lyrics appear, but her context is one of innocent romance and longing, a stark contrast to Michi's world. Kumi approaches Michi and timidly asks, "Miss Michi, I'd like to talk to you alone, tomorrow if possible." Michi agrees with a knowing, sly smile. Kumi looks at her own reflection, feeling defeated. If I'm up against that beautiful woman, it's impossible. Tsukasa, she thinks, but her despair quickly turns to determination as she clenches her fist, declaring, "And no, I don't want to give Tsukasa away to anyone." Kumi's moment of resolve is shattered as one of Tsukasa's friends, still in the ridiculous heavy metal costume, bursts into her room, shouting, "Shut up and settle down," while striking a pose. The scene descends into chaos. "Why the hell are you in my room?" the friend yells at Kumi. "Hurry up and get out. I've got things to do." In the background, Yuji is seen lounging in bed with a group of naked women, revealing the party they dragged Tsukasa to. The friends are arguing amongst themselves, with Yuji laughing it off. "What's with that, yo? You've been doing it all day?" one complains. They then realize their guest of honor is missing. Fuck, where the hell is Tsukasa? They find Tsukasa huddled in a corner, traumatized. "Miss Michi, she saw it. Kumi and I together." He mutters. The friends are exasperated. "What's the matter with Tsukasa? He's been like that since yesterday. I even got all these girls for him to have fun with." Eiji finally loses his patience. He stands over the weeping Tsukasa, annoyed that his efforts to cheer him up have failed so spectacularly. "I didn't think he'd be acting like he is now. I told him he could have another girl if he wanted to." Fed up, Eiji grabs Tsukasa by the collar, lifting his head. "Stop being so fucking pathetic," he snarls, trying to snap him out of his self-pity. Eiji delivers a harsh ultimatum. "If you really want to be with Miss Michi that bad, then man up and take control of the situation," he shouts, while the other friends and girls watch on. Tsukasa, finally looking up, asks, "The problem is, what are you going to do about Kumi?" Eiji smirks, his confidence returning. "What you should do about Kumi is... I got a plan." Eiji winks and makes a shocking proposal. "Give her to me." The other friends are stunned, and the girls are the party object, with one yelling, "Shut up. I said first. If you think you can take her, then I want her." Eiji tells them to quiet down, annoyed that they're killing the vibe. Eiji ignores the commotion and gets serious with Tsukasa again. Oi, Tsukasa, this isn't the time to be doing this. I had another reason for coming here. If you've got some time. The scene cuts to Eiji putting his plan into action. He leans close to Kumi and whispers a startling suggestion. Why not try joining a gang? Later, Kumi is walking home, annoyed by the constant noise of biker gangs, or buses. As she walks up the stairs to her apartment, she thinks about Eiji's words. Meanwhile, another friend confronts Eiji, demanding an explanation. Eiji, what the hell are you talking about? You can't just say things like that and brush it to the side. Eiji explains the situation. His old gang, Gokuraku, is recruiting members because they're in a conflict with another gang called Hiroshima Knights. Outside the door, Kumi overhears them, realizing they're having a serious conversation. Kumi hesitates to interrupt what sounds like a serious talk. Her attention is then drawn to the bizarre sight of the round, baby-like character from earlier, now inside the apartment, playing with a handful of fireworks. Peeking inside, Kumi is utterly charmed by the strange creature, exclaiming, "Kaya, so cute." She asks it to enter the room with her. Tsukasa, overhearing this right after the mention of biker gangs, is completely bewildered. The friend sees the opportunity to pressure Tsukasa. You said you wanted to be a delinquent, right? This is how you become bad, they tell him. Ken Takakura turns to Eiji, seriously asking, Eiji, what are you going to do? Eiji explains his personal involvement. If a fight is going to break out, then I'll be contacted too. I also have a debt to the leader. He tries to downplay his role, adding with a smirk, don't sweat it. I'm just a guy that hits on girls there. The scene dissolves into pure chaos. While the friends argue, with Eiji yelling wrong. All wrong. Kumi is seen outside, absurdly directing the baby character. One more rehearsal. We enter on 3, then we laugh and do 3 spins and jump. On the count of 3, Kumi and the baby burst through the door, performing their bizarre, rehearsed entrance. The baby lets out a GUH as it's thrown inside, surprising the group. The friends decide to head out. So, where are we going? Seems like something's going to go down at tonight's gathering. Let's just waste some time till night comes. They turn to Tsukasa and declare, Tsukasa, today's on you, considering I saved you and all. As they leave, the friends cheerfully discuss how much they'll order on Tsukasa's tab. Yeah, $5K worth. One says, seriously? I'm real hungry today, though. I'll have a shrimp set. Kumi watches them go as the baby character comically deflates onto the floor. Seriously, Kumi says to herself, disappointed. I thought we'd be able to go out again, but I just got cold feet. Getting an idea, she decides, I'll just leave a message on the door. The scene cuts to 2 tough-looking delinquents in matching uniforms, sitting on a motorcycle. They are members of the biker gang Knights, their presence confirming the looming threat of the gang war. The gang members are discussing the mysterious woman involved. Who's the woman? One asks. The other replies, I don't know. Probably friends with Eiji from Gokuraku, Chou. This confirms that Michi is connected to the dangerous gang world. The chapter concludes with the note Kumi leaves on Tsukasa's door. It's a declaration. I'm going to go meet with Miss Michi now. I plan to tell her that I want you to be mine. She forgives him for missing their date and warns him not to be reckless with Yuji. Having left her message, Kumi skips away cheerfully, feeling empowered and ready for a fight, as a motorcycle speeds off in the background. In a restaurant, Yoji and his friends discuss the recent activities of biker gangs. While local gangs seem to be settling down, a group of bikers is seen rallying outside, prompting Yoji to comment that they must be going all out to satisfy their hunger for chaos. Toshi, however, scoffs at the idea, thinking a small group of 10 can't cause much trouble. Suddenly, a man with a distinct tall hairstyle calls out Toshi's name, surprising everyone. Toshi immediately recognizes him and exclaims his name, complaining about being startled while also expressing delight at the feast spread before them, inviting the newcomer to eat as well. The man, Hiroshi Tanaka, greets another acquaintance, commenting on his straightened hair and teasingly accusing him of stealing many of his girls in the past. Yoji joins in, retorting that Hiroshi, as the former head of the Gokuraku Chou gang, also had his fair share of admirers, and they even dated the same girl once. Hiroshi apologizes, noting the change in atmosphere. His friend with the glasses, Hisa, sadly reminds him that they've been friends since middle school and shouldn't hold grudges over team fights. Toshi, however, finds Hisa's response too reserved and formal. Hisa quietly apologizes, his emotions getting the better of him as tears start to stream down his face. The others are taken aback, with Yoji pointing out in surprise that Hisa is crying. The scene shifts to a woman named Kumi in an apartment night. She appears nervous as someone tells her not to be so stiff while pouring her a cup of coffee. A woman with long, blonde hair enters the kitchen and playfully asks Kumi about her relationship with a man named Tsukasa, even teasing her about whether they've slept together yet. Kumi, flustered, denies it, and the blonde woman laughs it off as just a joke, remarking that Tsukasa doesn't seem to have that kind of drive. The blonde woman then asks if Tsukasa has mentioned her. Kumi reveals she heard from Yoji that Tsukasa had made a promise to become a delinquent. The blonde woman scoffs, calling both Tsukasa and Yoji idiots. Kumi is shocked to hear the blonde woman admit she was only teasing Tsukasa and didn't expect him to take it seriously, as most kids wouldn't. Standing in a field, the blonde woman recalls her words to Tsukasa, musing about how foolish he was to take her seriously. She had told him that if he could become a true, manly delinquent, she would let him have his way with her. Back in the apartment, Kumi listens with a worried expression as the blonde woman explains that while she has a lot of pride in herself, she's starting to change her way of thinking. As she lights a cigarette, the blonde woman's expression hardens. She confesses that she dislikes it when someone tries to take something from the palm of her hand, no matter how small it is. Kumi begins to cry, realizing the gravity of the situation. Kumi looks up, her eyes wide with tears, and thinks that fighting with a high schooler is stupid. In a sudden burst of anger, the blonde woman throws her drink at Kumi. Drenched and crying, Kumi confronts her, yelling that a woman shouldn't resort to such actions while playing with someone's feelings. The blonde woman retorts that she has also changed her way of thinking and declares that she will not give Tsukasa up, as she came here specifically for that reason. The scene cuts back to the group of guys. Tsukasa appears nervous as his friends stare at him. He tries to laugh it off, claiming it's nothing, but Hisa is seen crying in the background, exclaiming, "Why's it gotta be this guy?" Hiroshi Tanaka looks on, unimpressed. He remarks that Tsukasa is just a rich boy and that he got his hopes up thinking it was someone cooler. He questions why the others are burdening themselves, trying to change him, implying they have too much free time. The group expresses their disbelief that a guy like Tsukasa managed to pass the bike license test. Tsukasa nonchalantly admits that he didn't. His dad simply bought it all for him. Yoji is utterly shocked by this revelation, shouting about how insane Tsukasa's family must be. Hiroshi calmly smokes, adding that no matter how rich someone is, it's not normal to be able to simply buy things like that. Later, the group sits on a bench, discussing Tsukasa's story, which they find nonsensical. Hiroshi speculates that Tsukasa's dad might be involved in some shady business in the background. The scene shifts to a man watching the blonde woman from earlier. He nonchalantly comments that whatever is happening isn't related to a boy starting his life in a biker gang. He then calls out to Tsukasa, who agrees nervously. The man approaches the blonde woman, who notes that he's early today and seems less relaxed than usual. Another man with a mustache is partially visible beside them. The woman tells the man with the mustache, Shugahara, to stop talking about killing the Kiriki boy's dad so lightly. Then, turning to the other man, she embraces him and asks if he will truly marry her once their plan is complete. Looking towards a motorcycle, the man confidently reassures her with a simple, "Yeah, I will." Meanwhile, back with the gang, Hiroshi announces they're ready to head out. However, Hisa, looking troubled, excuses himself to go to the restroom, leaving his friends puzzled. Inside the restroom, Hisa overhears a conversation about a guy named Nakamura. He seems particularly concerned about whether Nakamura knows that the leader of the Knights gang stole Toshi's girl. As Kumi stands alone, a dark silhouette of Hisa looms, contemplating the events that have just been set in motion. And thus, the story of the bad boys started to become a reality. When Hisao returns from the restroom, his face is grim. Toshi immediately notices the change in his demeanor and anxiously asks what's wrong, urging his friend to say something. Toshi confronts Hisao, calling him out for his deceit. He angrily reminds Hisao of their long-standing friendship since middle school and questions how he could hide such a crucial secret from him. Hisao, now with the opposing gang, apologizes to a shocked Toshi. He reveals his past as a former member of the Knights and declares that he has unfinished business to settle before he can return. The rest of the gang looks on in stunned silence. Hisao explains that he overheard what happened while he was in the restroom, his face betraying a deep internal conflict. Meanwhile, on the street, Kumi is being harassed by a group of delinquents trying to get her to go out for drinks with them. Despite her refusals, they persist, leaving her feeling trapped and scared. Kumi cries out in despair, wondering why her own brother is involved in this. Suddenly, a hand clamps over her mouth, muffling her screams as she is captured. The members of the Knights gang confirm that Kumi is one of Gokuraku's girls and decide to take her with them. From a distance, Tsukasa and his friends witness the abduction, their faces filled with shock and concern. Tsukasa is at a loss for words, shocked that the gang would do that to Kumi. Yoji mutters about the terrible situation, while Toshi, trying to remain calm, says there's nothing they can do for now and suggests they wait for Hisao at Tsukasa's house. As the car carrying Kumi speeds away, Toshi and Yoji decide it's time to go. They offer to help if anything like this happens again, exchanging brief thanks and goodbyes before parting ways. Seething with rage, Toshi declares that they are all ready. The next time they see a member of the Knights, he vows they will break their skull. Yoji reflects on the cruel twist of fate. He finds it unbelievable that this happened to Toshi, who, despite them not seeing each other for a while, had finally managed to get a girlfriend. As they ride, Yoji notices Tsukasa sweating and asks him what's wrong. Tsukasa, trembling, replies that he just has a very bad feeling. Just then, a car zips past them, confirming Tsukasa's premonition. His friends are shocked, exclaiming that this must have been his bad feeling. Tsukasa, however, insists that he still has a bad feeling, asking them to wait. An old woman suddenly appears, knitting as she remarks that the loudest farts are just noise, but the quietest ones are the ones that truly stink. Startled by the grandmother's sudden appearance, the gang yells at her to shut up. The old woman calmly tells the handsome boys not to get mad, but Toshi, agitated, reiterates that he has a bad feeling. Toshi asks to be dropped off at Yoji's place. Eiji questions his decision, asking if he's sure he's fine with the fight, reminding him he's talking to the leader. Toshi fiercely retorts that he'll take out all of Hiro's men if necessary. Eiji smiles, telling Toshi he can come to him anytime he needs to blow off steam. Just as he says this, the biker gang, the Busuzoku, arrives on the scene. Elsewhere, Hisao arrives at a building. A man lounging against a wall notices him. He greets Hisao, mentioning it's been a long time, as Hisao slams a door in the background. Hisao asks the man what's wrong and if Hiro is around. The man smirks, replying that Hiro is busy doing a bad thing with someone named Erika. The man makes a crude joke, telling Hisao to keep it a secret before bursting into laughter. Hisao silently observes, thinking to himself that the Knights have changed quite a bit in just half a year. As Hisao walks past, another member of the gang who is eating snacks looks up and calls out his name in surprise. The gang member greets Hisao with a wide, cheerful grin, asking him what he's been up to. Hisao, however, walks past him without a word. The cheerful member tries to stop Hisao from proceeding down a hallway, frantically explaining that Hiro is using the room right now. Hisao ignores him, continuing forward as the others panic. Inside the dimly lit room, Hiro is on a bed with a woman. He is startled by the door opening and asks who it is. From the doorway, Hisao's silhouette appears as he apologizes for disturbing Hiro's fun time. Hiro, still in bed with the woman, casually greets Hisao. With a grim expression, Hisao states that he has something he needs to talk to him about. Meanwhile, Tsukasa is crying uncontrollably, wailing for Miss Michi. He declares his intention to go see her and tell her about his decision to make her his, recalling the challenge she had given him. Yoji asks Tsukasa to confirm if Miss Michi's place is in Koi, which Tsukasa affirms. In the background, someone asks what the matter is, but receives a dismissive, "It's nothing" in reply. The scene briefly cuts to a comical romantic interlude. A bald man, Mr. Hairless, and a woman, Mrs. Neo, declare their love for each other, with Mrs. Neo saying their love needs no words before they embrace happily. As the couple shares a passionate kiss, their moment is abruptly interrupted by the roar of an approaching biker gang and a car, startling them and filling the air with tension. At the headquarters of the Knights gang, members are gathered outside. One of them gossips with another, asking if he'd heard that their leader, Hiro, had once again stolen a girl from the rival Gokuraku Chou gang. A man with a towering hairstyle laughs, remarking on how scary Hiro is and expressing his relief to be on the same side. A woman named Eri coolly adds that no matter what Hiro plans, he'll have to get through her first. One of the gang members counts their numbers, confirming there are 6 of them, not including the girl. With a look of grim determination, their leader gives the order. "Let's go." The group seems to be celebrating. A man named Masahiro gets ready to take a picture of the group. A woman named Tacy playfully sticks her tongue out, and someone jokingly calls her out. As Masahiro holds up the camera, telling everyone to say cheese, his cheerful expression suddenly contorts into one of pure terror. In a flash, a figure dressed in traditional Japanese attire appears, swiftly cutting down one of the gang members with a sword. The festive atmosphere shatters into chaos. The gang members scream in terror as the attacker lunges at them. Their joyful celebration turned into a scene of panic and violence. The attacker continues his furious assault, striking down another member of the bewildered and terrified group. Standing amidst the fallen bodies, the bloodied attacker reveals himself as the head of Gokuraku Chou. He tells the terrified survivors to deliver a message to Hiro. He will regret not facing him head-on. Back at the Knight's headquarters, the woman who was with Hiro calmly applies her lipstick. She nonchalantly tells a gang member to inform Hiro that she is going home. While some gang members play cards, the woman asks why Hisa had stopped by earlier. One of them nervously replies that he doesn't know, but admits that Hisa seemed incredibly angry. The woman pointedly asks if Hiro went to sleep with another woman again. The gang member laughs nervously, denying any knowledge, as Hiro looks on with a steely gaze. With a menacing smile, the woman threatens to turn Hiro into a chalkboard if what she suspects is true. She demands to be informed immediately, and the terrified gang member quickly agrees. Back in the room with Hisao, Hiro sits up on the bed and casually tells him not to make such a scary face. Hiro lights a cigarette, correctly guessing that Hisao's visit is about Sato's girl. He says he knew Hisao would show up eventually and tells him not to act surprised, as Hisao should already know who he is. Hisao tries to de-escalate, suggesting they take it easy since it's been a while. He offers Hiro a cigarette, but then surprises him by crushing the pack in his hand. With a look of contempt, Hisao questions Hiro's good position within the gang, his anger palpable. Hisao's fury explodes. He viciously stomps on Hiro's foot and calls him trash, questioning if he thinks he can lead the group simply by taking other men's women. He declares the talk is over and calls for Shuichi. Hisao and another man stand back-to-back, united. The man orders the others to clean this trash up, referring to Hiro. The scene shifts to outside, where Hisa lies beaten and bloodied on the ground. He curses as he struggles to move. In the distance, his friends rush towards him, calling his name. Hisa, though badly beaten, manages a weak smile as his friends surround him, crying profusely and apologizing. He dryly tells them to quit it, saying they look like horses when they cry. Hisa looks at his friends, a mix of pain and pride on his face. He muses that despite not being around lately, they've all changed from the kids he once knew and are truly putting their all into this. A flashback shows the moment of Kumi's abduction. The Knight's gang members, wearing their signature jackets, hold her captive as they lead her to a car. One of Kumi's captors is on the phone with a man named Shuichi, telling him they can't do anything about the situation. On the other end of the line, a man is desperately pleading with Shuichi to let Kumi go. A heartfelt apology is being offered over the phone. The somber moment is unexpectedly broken when Tsukasa lets out a nervous fart in the otherwise quiet room. Yoji, annoyed, calls Tsukasa an idiot for his ill-timed flatulence. Just then, the old woman from before pops up again, prompting Yoji to wonder if she's back. He then recalls her strange words about loud and quiet farts. The phone rings, and Tsukasa answers it. As he listens, Yoji and the old woman fall over in the background. Yoji suddenly recognizes the voice on the other end and shouts, "Oi, Tsukasa, how's Hisa?" A close-up on Yoji's face reveals his utter shock and disbelief at what he's hearing over the phone. Yoji enters the room, exhausted, and asks if Hisa is back yet. He then notices Tsukasa's grim expression and asks what's wrong, noting that his demeanor changed right after the phone call. Tsukasa turns to Yoji with a serious look and asks if he has a gang jacket from his middle school days. The question takes Yoji and Eiji completely by surprise. Tsukasa's face twists with rage as he grabs Yoji's shirt, demanding the jacket. He declares with burning intensity that he is going to destroy the Knights. His friends are stunned into silence by his sudden, explosive resolve. The scene cuts to a quiet, empty park at night. The strange old woman is seen peeking out from behind a bush, observing something with a sweaty, nervous expression. The odd couple, Mr. Hairless and Mrs. Neo, are reunited in the park, relieved to finally be alone. Their moment is interrupted when Mrs. Neo is startled by a cat, letting out a small shriek. The three friends are now on a motorcycle, with a determined Tsukasa driving recklessly. He swerves wildly, nearly crashing and sending leaves flying as his friends scream in terror. Yoji yells at Tsukasa, asking what's wrong with his driving and warning that they won't be able to lead him to Hiro's place if he continues like this. His words have no effect as Tsukasa almost crashes again. Yoji worries that they might be in for a lot of trouble. He laments that they managed to borrow a bike, but at this rate, it's going to get trashed. He reflects on the fearsome reputation of the head of the Knights. Yoji warns Tsukasa that they have no choice but to go before their opponent comes after them. He desperately yells at Tsukasa to get himself together as he nearly loses control of the bike again. The scene shifts to a dark room where Kumi is being held captive. She looks up with teary eyes as Hiro appears before her. Hiro mockingly comments that he's got a good one. His fellow gang members agree and ask him to let them have a turn with her. Hiro laughingly dismisses their request. With tears in her eyes, Kumi defiantly tells Hiro that he won't be able to get away with this. She declares with conviction, "I know. Tsukasa will come and save me." Her words only serve to amuse Hiro and his men. Hiro seems disgusted, complaining that he can't believe Tsukasa won't let them have her after all their help. In a fit of frustration, he throws something at the wall while his men look on, one of them calling him a dick. Hiro approaches Kumi, who is huddled fearfully in a corner. He tells her that he's sorry, but she should just give up. Leaning in close, Hiro tells Kumi that if she wants someone to blame, she should blame the guys at Gokuraku. He then introduces himself as a man well known in the delinquent community, implying his power and influence. A gang member bursts into the room, shouting for Hiro. He frantically reports that some of their members were attacked by Gokuraku, causing Hiro to look up in alarm. Hiro angrily demands to know what the commotion is about. The other gang members are in a state of shock, questioning what just happened and calling the attackers pieces of shit. Upon hearing the news, Hiro smirks. He orders his men to gather everyone, declaring that it's time for Gokuraku, Chou, to wipe their own asses. His men cheer, ready for a fight. Hiro lets out a manic laugh, declaring that it's time to rage out. He turns to Kumi, who recoils in fear and menacingly beckons her to come to him. Outside the room, the gang members listen with grim. Hiro pins Kumi to the bed, telling her not to fight it as it won't be so bad. Kumi weakly cries for Tsukasa to save her, feeling helpless. Meanwhile, the Knights gang gets word that Gokuraku is on their way, and they prepare to teach them a lesson about their strength. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes from outside, startling the gang. They look out the window to see a destroyed motorcycle, but there's no one in sight. Confused and wary, one of the gang members announces that he will go check out the noise. As the member opens the door, he comes face to face with a bloodied and enraged Tsukasa, who screams, "Where the fuck is Kumi?" Elsewhere, Hisa's friends finally reach him as he lies injured by a car. Yoji and Eiji find Tsukasa and ask if he's alright, explaining that he suddenly disappeared while they were on their way. They then notice the wrecked motorcycle and realize with dawning horror that Tsukasa was the one who crashed. A man named Shuichi appears, telling Yoji that it's time to go. He orders someone to call a woman named Erika, his face a mask of grim determination as he pushes past another member. Tsukasa bursts into the room where Hiro is holding Kumi. He fights furiously against the gang members who try to restrain him, desperately screaming Kumi's name. Kumi, seeing Tsukasa, cries out his name in a mix of relief and terror. Tsukasa, his face contorted in pure rage, struggles against the men holding him back. Kumi watches as Tsukasa is overwhelmed by the gang members, and in a moment of despair, she calls him a piece of shit. Fueled by rage, Tsukasa fights back against his captors, screaming for them to let him go as he lands a solid punch on one of the members. With an incredible burst of strength, Tsukasa throws off the gang members who are restraining him, sending them flying. Tsukasa charges forward, his face a mask of fury, and relentlessly punches another gang member out of his way. Letting out a primal scream, Tsukasa continues his desperate fight towards Hiro and Kumi, his rage seemingly boundless. Tsukasa is suddenly struck down from behind by a gang member wielding a weapon. Kumi screams his name as he collapses to the floor. The attacker stands over the fallen Tsukasa, mockingly asking if he has any regard for his own life. The woman who was with Hiro earlier cries, apologizing and claiming Tsukasa came out of nowhere. Kumi, witnessing the brutal attack, screams in terror for Tsukasa to run away. Hiro seizes the opportunity and grabs Kumi, who screams. On the floor, a battered Tsukasa struggles, gritting his teeth and telling him to let her go. Hiro grabs a handful of Kumi's hair, a sadistic grin on his face. He declares that he's going to make Tsukasa watch as he violates her. Tsukasa, pushed beyond his limits, snarls, "You think I'm going to let him go like that?" Hiro retorts that this is what happens to those who disrespect the Knights, as they show no mercy. As Hiro forces himself on Kumi, she cries out in pain and despair. Tsukasa, helpless on the floor, can only watch in horror, screaming for Hiro to stop. The assault continues as Tsukasa is held down. Suddenly, the doors burst open. Yoji, Eiji, and the rest of their gang storm in, announcing that the allies of justice have arrived. A full-blown brawl erupts as Gokuraku, Chou clashes with the Knights. In the chaos of the brawl, Kumi screams Tsukasa's name. Fueled by adrenaline and rage, Tsukasa breaks free and lands a devastating punch right in Hiro's face. Tsukasa grabs a fistful of Hiro's hair, his face a mask of pure fury. He screams that he's not finished with him yet, ready to unleash all his pent-up anger. With a final, powerful blow, Tsukasa smashes Hiro's head into the ground, the impact echoing through the room. The members of the Knights watch in disbelief as their leader is taken down. In contrast, Tsukasa's friends erupt in cheers, celebrating his victory and praising his courage. Overwhelmed with emotion, Tsukasa and his friends share a moment of victory, laughing and crying with relief. Yoji proudly tells Tsukasa that he has finally become a true man. As Toshi prepares to continue the fight against a fallen member of the Knights, he is stopped by a friend who tells him it's over. He urges Toshi to look outside to understand why. Toshi and the others look outside to a shocking sight. A massive army of bikers, the full force of the Knight's gang, has assembled, completely surrounding them. The sheer number of reinforcements is overwhelming. Hiro stands before the defeated and battered members of Gokuraku Chou, laughing at how pathetic they are. He scoffs that he expected them to be stronger and declares they are no match for the Knights, telling them they are 10 years too early to challenge them. Tsukasa's friends, beaten and exhausted, question why the entire gang is there. One of them grimly admits that there's no way to win against such numbers. Hiro, brandishing a weapon, vows to make them never forget this night. Just as Hiro is about to deliver another blow, a woman appears behind him, placing a hand on his shoulder. They share a tense look while Tsukasa's friends watch in stunned silence. In a surprising turn of events, the woman suddenly splashes a bucket of water on Hiro, drenching him completely and startling everyone in the room. The woman, revealed to be Hiro's girlfriend, erupts in fury. She screams at him for touching other women again and threatens to show him hell. Hisao and the others can only watch, bewildered by this new development. As the chaotic scene unfolds, Hisao's friend Riley comments that this is what always happens when villains lose. Hiro's girlfriend continues her assault, calling him a noisy old man and refusing to let him get away, all while the defeated gang members look on. After the wild and crazy night, a fragile peace settles. Tsukasa comforts a crying Kumi, and the narration notes that despite the violence and betrayal, everyone felt a little bit better in the end. Concludes with the gang driving off into the night. The narrator reflects that it was a truly mysterious night, a painful experience that, like a wound, would eventually heal over time. Opens with two members of the Gokuraku Chou gang, their faces etched with worry. Yosuke, with his signature pompadour, and his friend desperately plead with their leader, Toshi, asking if he's serious about his decision and worrying about the future of their gang without him. Toshi, their leader, turns with a furious expression and yells at them to shut up. He's already made up his mind, declaring that any more arguing is completely useless. Toshi explains that since middle school, he's led the gang while ignoring his father. Now, he feels it's time to leave and repay his father for everything. His members panic, yelling that the gang will be crushed without him. But Toshi internally scoffs at what he considers to be weak bullshit. His friends look on in dismay as Toshi turns his back on them. As he walks away, he announces that he has already found the next person to lead the gang, the next head. Meanwhile, Tsukasa is a mess, crying uncontrollably. His friend Yoji watches him with an annoyed expression, remarking on how Kumi had to deal with a difficult situation. Yoji explains the reason for the distress. Kumi is a pure girl, and she's feeling hurt after being forcibly stripped and kissed. The thought makes Tsukasa cry even harder in anguish. Tsukasa screams in frustration, realizing he has done terrible things to Kumi by constantly talking about another girl, Miss Michi, without considering her feelings. As Yoji questions why he's only realizing this now, Tsukasa's self-loathing turns to anger. Tsukasa's emotions swing wildly. He wonders if beating up the culprit would make Kumi happy, but then clenches his fist, declaring he can't forgive him. Yoji dryly comments on his one-man show as Tsukasa grits his teeth, blaming everything on someone named Hiro. The scene shifts to a surreal and comedic moment as Tsukasa peeks through the door of a room with a Kumi nameplate. Inside, he sees bizarre figures with elongated legs dancing around a boombox. Tsukasa looks on, dumbfounded, as the strange dance party continues, with more and more peculiar characters joining in. He is utterly shocked by the chaotic scene unfolding in Kumi's house. Suddenly, the door is thrown open by a woman in a patterned dress, presumably Kumi's mother, who demands to know what on earth is happening. The entire house seems to shake from the ruckus as the strange family continues their wild dance. Elsewhere, the mood is somber. Kumi sits at her desk, looking deeply dejected. She sighs, feeling like she's had enough and wanting to avoid everyone and everything, including school. Looking at her reflection, Kumi tells herself to stop crying. With tears still in her eyes, she tries to be strong, believing that she won't be able to be Tsukasa's girl if she continues to cry. A switch seems to flip. Kumi begins to brush her long dark hair, a new sense of purpose in her eyes as she thinks about Tsukasa. Gazing at a picture of Tsukasa, Kumi's expression hardens with resolve. She declares that when it comes to a woman, there are times she must make a decision. Back at Kumi's house, she opens her door, only to be horrified to find her eccentric family still engaged in their bizarre, high-energy dancing. Overwhelmed by the chaotic scene, Kumi finally snaps. As the house seems to explode with noise and energy, she screams in frustration that she's going to kill them all. The scene shifts again. A car pulls up and several of Tsukasa's friends, including Yoji, get out. They ask him why he looks so scared, wondering if Toshi had shown up. Inside a room, the gang has gathered. They ask Tsukasa if something bad has happened again. Toshi, looking serious, interrupts, saying he has something to say and that he wants Tsukasa to have something. Toshi dramatically removes his white gang jacket, which bears the name Gokuraku Chou. He makes a formal announcement. As of today, he, the seventh head of Hiroshima Gokuraku Chou, Toshimasa Harebe, is leaving the team. Tsukasa looks on in utter shock. Toshi hands the folded jacket to a stunned Tsukasa, telling him to put his all into it and move forward. He names him the eighth head. Both Tsukasa and his friend Yoji are speechless with disbelief. Tsukasa sweats, confused, asking I am. The other gang members erupt in shock and excitement, realizing that this means Tsukasa is the new head of Gokuraku Chou. With a goofy, happy grin on his face, Tsukasa is now seen as the eighth head, with the rest of the excited gang members cheering behind him, their loyalty already transferred. Yoji cries tears of joy, exclaiming how happy he is for Tsukasa. Another member enthusiastically declares that this calls for a celebration, kicking off a rowdy party right then and there while Tsukasa is still trying to process what just happened. Overwhelmed by the sudden and chaotic celebration, Tsukasa shouts at them all to settle down. But his first attempt at asserting authority only impresses his friends more, as they clap and cheer, saying as expected of the eighth. The party is now in full swing. Just as Tsukasa is being celebrated, a knock at the door startles him. He opens it to find Kumi, and he and the rest of the gang stare in disbelief at her. Kumi strikes a confident pose, showing off her new delinquent-style white outfit, a stark contrast to her previous look. The guys are stunned as she asks with a grin if she looks like a delinquent. With fiery determination in her eyes, Kumi announces that she has decided to become a delinquent so that she won't be left behind by Tsukasa. As she stands beside a blushing and flustered Tsukasa, the narrator declares the beginning of the story of the half-assed delinquent Tsukasa. The focus shifts to Toshi, the former leader, who looks on with a serious, contemplative expression, a single bead of sweat rolling down his face. Toshi glares at his former members, and they stare back blankly. The tension breaks as all of them, including Toshi, burst into wide, goofy smiles, showing the friendly bond that remains. The gang discusses Tsukasa's promotion. One member admits he couldn't have pictured the pampered Tsukasa as the new head. Meanwhile, Tsukasa is comically struggling with the weight of the leader's coat, while his friends praise his new delinquent look. The friends continue their brutally honest assessment of their new leader, listing his many flaws. He's a virgin, his bike riding is rough, he has bad hygiene, and he farts a lot. They ultimately conclude that Tsukasa is no good after all. While the gang is still struggling to get the heavy coat on Tsukasa, one of the members, wearing glasses, spots someone approaching from outside and lets out a gasp. It's Toshi, now clad in a sharp school uniform, a cigarette hanging from his lips. He looks intimidating as he shouts an aggressive, "I'm sorry," at them, startling the bespectacled friend. Toshi lets out a teasive sound, his glare intensifying. The friend with glasses is so terrified his form dissolves into scribbles of fear. Inspired by Toshi's intimidating presence, the gang members have an epiphany. They declare that for Tsukasa to be a true leader, he needs to have the same powerful body and aura as Toshi. They immediately try to push a terrified Tsukasa to go fight Toshi. Tsukasa protests weakly, admitting he has no experience with girls or fights and other embarrassing ailments. But his friends yell that they're talking about fighting. One of the members notes that Toshi's uniform shows he has passion and fight in him. Now completely fired up, the gang encourages Tsukasa, yelling at him to go fight Toshi and make sure he wins. Filled with a sudden, foolish burst of confidence from imagining himself being praised as the eighth head, Tsukasa yells, "Leave it to me," and charges forward. Toshi stops him effortlessly with one foot. Undeterred, Tsukasa strikes a pose and yells, "Bring it on." Toshi looks down disdainfully at Tsukasa, who is now comically holding onto his leg while trying to challenge him. The rest of the gang watches in secondhand embarrassment, wondering what on earth their new leader is thinking. Just then, Kumi comes speeding in on a scooter, a frantic look on her face as she barrels towards the confrontation. Unable to stop, Kumi crashes her scooter and is sent flying through the air. She lands in an undignified heap, accidentally flashing her underwear. The gang bluntly comments on her dangerous landing and the appearance of Mr. But Kumi quickly gets up, trying to act nonchalant about crashing her scooter. While Tsukasa worries if she's hurt, she is ecstatic, giving a peace sign and declaring that this reckless act means she can finally join his delinquent group. The other gang members, including Eiji and Hisao, look on. They comment that Tsukasa is terrible, but Hisao seems to be gazing at someone in the distance. Hisao's friends ask him what's wrong and what they are all going to do now. Hisao, with a gentle smile, says it's nothing and that he hasn't really decided on his future yet, giving the moment a surprisingly sentimental, youth manga feel. After a bizarre and chaotic scene of the boys roughhousing and pulling each other's pants down, the scene transitions. A new group of delinquents in white jackets stands assembled before the Gokuraku Chou gang in front of a sign that reads Coffee House Boys. A former leader officially passes the torch, telling the assembled delinquents that Tsukasa is the next head and that they should give him their all. Tsukasa looks on nervously as his own friends eagerly accept him, saying, "We're in your care, Tsukasa." Tsukasa's face comically stretches with joy. His friends note how happy he is, and he magnanimously declares that the treat is on him and everyone should eat as much as they like. The newly unified gang walks into the coffee shop, immediately striking fear into the hearts of the patrons and staff. A waitress whispers that the Busuzoku are the worst and begs the owner to do something. The owner, however, is just as petrified as his staff, admitting he's scared too. The waitress can't believe it, reminding him that he's the owner. Both of them tremble in fear as the delinquent's presence looms over the peaceful cafe. Inside the coffee shop, the gang's rowdy entrance is met with fear, but their attention is quickly drawn to a lone figure sitting coolly at a table, smoking a cigarette. It's Hiro. Hiro smirks, mockingly acknowledging the new Mr. Head of Gokuraku Chou, and remarking that it seems fate has brought them together. Tsukasa's gang immediately becomes hostile, ready to fight, but Tsukasa holds them back. Trying to act the part of a leader, Tsukasa declares that since it's a celebration, he'll let Hiro off this one time. He warns him that the next time they meet, he will make him cry. The gang looks on, impressed, while Hiro remains unfazed. As the confrontation simmers, Kumi's mother comically drags her husband away, apologizing for his behavior. Ignoring the bizarre family drama, Tsukasa yells at Hiro, asking him what his problem is. The argument escalates, with Tsukasa yelling, "Bring it on," and Hiro retorting that they aren't done yet. In the background, Kumi's mother continues to handle her husband, while Tsukasa's friends comment on how terrifying the woman is. With Hiro gone, Tsukasa cheerfully declares the problem is solved and it's time to drink. One of his friends tells Yoji he was right about Tsukasa, and Yoji replies with a knowing look that Tsukasa isn't a normal guy and has hidden power. Hisao heads to the bathroom to fix his hair, looking at his reflection in the mirror with a serious expression. Alone in the bathroom, Hisao gives himself a pep talk. He reminds himself that he's 18 and still has some delinquency left in him, reassuring himself that he can still put in his all. Hisao's moment of self-reflection is interrupted when he overhears his friends outside, shouting their agreement. They excitedly yell for him not to get a head start on them. The friends laugh, admitting that Tsukasa's infectious, idiotic energy has reignited their own passion for writing. Listening from inside, Hisao smiles, deciding to let them get heated up. The three senior members, Yoji, Hisao, and Eiji, share a final moment of camaraderie. Giving a unified thumbs up, they officially leave the team to the younger generation. The chapter ends on a wild, celebratory note. Tsukasa, the new 8th head, is being tossed in the air by the chaotic gang, his censored nudity adding to the mayhem. The narrator proclaims that this is where the story of Tsukasa and the 3 older members begins. The scene cuts to a dream sequence. Tsukasa is in bed when the beautiful and seductive Miss Michi appears over him, whispering that he can have her now, that she is all his. Just as Miss Michi leans in to kiss a terrified Tsukasa, Kumi bursts into the room, yelling his name and telling him not to listen to her. The nightmare gets stranger as Yoji and Hisao appear, dressed as the extraterrestrial monster boy and pointing toy guns and declaring that the woman isn't Miss Michi. The dream Michi cackles, saying her cover is blown. The dream climaxes with everyone, including the monstrous version of Michi, letting out horrified, echoing screams. Tsukasa jolts awake in a sweat, clutching his head and complaining that his dreams have been getting worse lately. His groggy state is interrupted by someone yelling loudly in the morning. Hisao tells Tsukasa to stop being soft. They're going for a ride today. He got a call from Eiji that his bike is fixed. Tsukasa feels guilty, questioning if it's really all right for him to take Toshi's bike, but Hisao dismisses his concern. Hisao explains the bike's importance. It's a legacy passed down since the first generation of Gokuraku Chou's leaders, and Eiji is the best person to modify it. He tells Tsukasa their friends are on their way, and it's been 4 years since he's done something like this. Tsukasa and Hisao step outside and are blown away by the sight. Eiji is crouched proudly next to a stunningly modified white motorcycle, the symbol of the Gokuraku Chou leader. Hisao praises Eiji's work, and Eiji smugly agrees that it looks good. Tsukasa can only stare in awe, muttering amazing. Hisao imparts the weight of this inheritance to Tsukasa. He explains that the bike holds the entire history of Gokuraku Chou. Just as Toshi did, Tsukasa must now risk his life to protect the team, with no half-assed efforts. Tsukasa stands before the bike, the pressure mounting. His friends, drawn as surreal, tube-like figures, call his name, asking if he understands. Tsukasa's face hardens with determination. With a deafening roar that fills the panel with sound effects, Tsukasa takes off on the bike, a blur of motion and speed that suggests immense, untamed power. The sudden, violent startle from Tsukasa's takeoff shocks his friends. Meanwhile, a police radio crackles with a report of a modified bike driving erratically on Highway 2. The camera reveals Toshi, sitting calmly on the hood of a police car. Toshi, still with the police, hears on the radio that the name on the front of the reckless driver's bike is Gokuraku Chou. The name makes him pause, a flicker of shock crossing his face. Meanwhile, the leader of the rival Knights gang is informed that a member of Gokuraku Chou was seen riding recklessly on Highway 2. Enraged that they're trying to show him up by riding in broad daylight, he declares he's going to challenge the fucker. Following behind in their car, Tsukasa's friends can only watch his terrible driving with exasperation. They sigh that they can't understand him at all, commenting that he belongs in a circus and desperately needs to learn how to ride properly. As Tsukasa continues to swerve uncontrollably, a figure suddenly appears behind him on another motorcycle. It's Toshi, who grabs Tsukasa from behind, startling him. Toshi yells that they're settling things now, and that he'll teach Tsukasa what happens when you ride around in these parts. The chase begins, with both of them speeding down the road. From the car, Tsukasa's friends watch with glee. Yoji complains that the car is too slow, while Hisao gets a wicked grin, saying things have gotten interesting and that he loves a fight. The two bikers are now side by side. Toshi yells at Tsukasa about his terrible riding style, asking if he thinks he's better than him. Tsukasa shouts back that as long as he's faster, he doesn't care about style. Despite Tsukasa's absurdly reckless form, practically flying horizontally off the bike, Toshi is shocked. He grits his teeth, wondering how he's unable to create any distance between them. A traffic light suddenly blips. Toshi is horrified to see Tsukasa heading straight for a line of stopped trucks. As Tsukasa careens towards the crash, he thinks to himself, "I'm dead." At the last second, Miss Michi steps into the road, causing Tsukasa to swerve violently to avoid her. He loses control and crashes the bike, with Michi looking on as he falls. Toshi skids to a halt, his face contorted in rage. He screams at Miss Michi that that's far enough and threatens to kill her for interfering. The tense standoff is interrupted by the dramatic appearance of a man in an old-fashioned military police uniform. He grandly announces that Mr. IW has appeared to make all crying children be quiet, and he demands to see their licenses. Meanwhile, Miss Michi tends to a dazed Tsukasa. The gang stares in shock. One of them recognizes the man, stuttering that he's Iwata, the legendary first-generation head of Gokuraku Chou. Iwata strikes a proud pose, confirming his identity. The gang is stunned that the first head is standing before them. Iwata, who is revealed to be Toshi's father, grins and says that his time as a gang leader is an old story. Now, he's the prefecture's #1 bike cop. Iwata declares that it's time for kids like them to wake up and grow up. He playfully brandishes a rope and begins to chase the terrified gang, telling them to come with him as they flee in panic. The scene flashes back, showing various groups of delinquents, highlighting their unique and wild hairstyles, from mohawks to long, flowing locks. Back in a diner, Tsukasa and Hisao are observing other patrons. Tsukasa remarks on a number of guys with crazy hair, and Hisao tells him to stop talking like a grandpa. Hisao gives a surprisingly deep speech, explaining that for kids held back by rules from school and family, their hairstyle is a form of release, a way to express their personality. Tsukasa, however, completely ignores Hisao's serious thoughts. He pulls a goofy face and declares it's his new gag. Hisao is furious, asking if he was even listening. Just then, two old friends with wild hair and flashy clothes greet Hisao and Tsukasa, remarking that it's been a while and that they're as lively as ever. The two friends mentioned they heard Tsukasa is the new head of Gokuraku Chou, which really surprised them. Tsukasa just laughs slyly while Hisao is still stuck comically wrestling with the other friend. The friend showed Tsukasa and Hisao a flyer for a place called Bar House Nakamura. Seeing the menu with prices for perms and cuts, Hisao remarks that rock and roll is expensive, but Tsukasa is just confused. One of the friends explains that this is Hisao's place, surprising Hisao, who didn't know. Hisao's dad apparently came back to Tokyo to open a store. Flustered, Hisao admits he's never seen his dad, but they decide to go check it out. They arrive at a building with a sign that reads Bar House Nakamura and has a barber's pole symbol next to it. It's clearly a barber shop. Tsukasa peeks through the door, thinking the place looks pretty cool. Hisao, however, looks on with apprehension as they prepare to go inside. Upon entering, Hisao and Tsukasa are surprised to find the rest of the Gokuraku Chou gang already there. They greet them cheerfully, asking if Tsukasa is planning to get his hair cut. They all wonder where Hisao's dad is, noting that for an opening day, the shop is completely empty. As they wait, the sound of approaching footsteps makes them turn their heads in anticipation. A large, shadowy figure with a terrifyingly wide grin suddenly appears, wielding chopsticks like weapons. He gives them a booming welcome, scaring the daylights out of the entire gang. The man, Hisao's dad, continues his overly enthusiastic welcome, his face contorting into a bizarre expression as he seemingly attacks one of the boys in a chaotic and surreal display of hospitality. Hisao's dad is now crying dramatically while his son yells at him to settle down. Hisao scolds him, saying that customers aren't going to come in if he scares them off with that kind of face. The gang confirms that this emotional man is, in fact, Hisao's dad. One of them immediately concludes that the store is no good. Hisao, embarrassed, tells his ridiculously depressed-looking father not to get down when he has a face like that. Hisao's dad begins to tell his tragic story. He's wanted to be a hairstylist since he was a kid and worked himself to the bone for it. He recalls being stared at in hair styling school and scaring customers in Tokyo, but he persevered to open his own store. He becomes completely overwhelmed by emotion, breaking down into a massive flood of tears as he wails about how hard he worked every single day, despite all the suffering. While one friend tells the bawling man that it's gross and he should stop crying, Tsukasa, moved by the story, gives a thumbs up. He cheerfully asks the old man to give him a good hairstyle. Inspired by Tsukasa's gesture, the rest of the gang eagerly chimes in, all asking for haircuts too. Hisao's dad looks on, his face a mess of tears and snot, completely overcome with joy. Meanwhile, outside the shop, Hiro and his friend are walking by. His friend spots the iconic white motorcycle parked out front and points it out to Hiro, who immediately recognizes it as belonging to Gokuraku Chou's new leader, Tsukasa. Back inside, Tsukasa is looking through a magazine for hairstyle ideas. He finds one he likes and excitedly points it out to Hisao's dad. The hairstyle Tsukasa has chosen is the iconic, old-fashioned look of the cartoon character Seizi-san. As the gang processes this ridiculous choice, the door to the shop creaks open. Hiro and his gang enter the barber shop. He greets Tsukasa with a casual, "Hey there," while Tsukasa and his friends stare back in shock and anger. Tsukasa's friends demand to know why Hiro is here, yelling that nobody called for him. Ignoring them, Hiro walks up to Hisao's dad, points at Tsukasa, and demands a hairstyle that's cooler than his. The challenge is accepted. Tsukasa and Hiro are now seated in barber chairs, yelling at Hisao's dad to give them a good cut. The barbershop has suddenly become the arena for a hairstyling duel. The competition is underway. Both Tsukasa and Hiro sit tensely in their chairs, hair full of clips and curlers, glaring at each other with fierce determination. Their respective gangs cheer them on as if it's a real fight, shouting encouragement like "hang in there" and "don't lose to him." Hisao's dad is sweating under the immense pressure. The onlookers are completely bewildered, wondering how this could possibly be considered competition. A timer suddenly beeps, and Hisao's dad, with a look of intense concentration, announces that it's all done. Just at that moment, Kumi arrives on her scooter. She spots Tsukasa's bike parked outside, and her face lights up, realizing he must be inside. Beaming with excitement, Kumi throws the door open and calls out Tsukasa's name with a huge, happy smile. Kumi walks into a bizarre and horrifying scene. Hisao's dad is celebrating his victory, while Tsukasa sports a truly terrible haircut. Kumi freezes, staring in stunned silence, a single tear of disbelief rolling down her cheek. Hisao's dad triumphantly asks, "Where are you looking?" "I won," as both Tsukasa and Hiro show off their ridiculous new hairstyles. Kumi, appalled, asks why he would actually give them those haircuts. The scene shifts. The gang, now sporting their new, awful haircuts, stands together. One member says that ever since Toshi left, they've been acting like a bunch of geezers, but now they're ready to ride. Hisao prompts Tsukasa to say something as the leader of Gokuraku Chou. Tsukasa, with his terrible haircut, is overcome with emotion and starts crying. Hisao yells at him, saying nobody is moved by his tears and calling him an idiot. But it's no use. The rest of the gang starts crying too, declaring this is youth. The emotional moment is short-lived. Tsukasa, full of energy, yells for everyone to get rowdy. The friends comment that he seems to have changed, just as the scene devolves into surreal chaos involving a fart and Tsukasa being comically stretched out. The newly energized Gokuraku Chou gang is shown riding through the city at night, their flag held high, a powerful silhouette against the urban landscape. On a nearby sidewalk, two women complain about the annoying biker gang. One of them, Miss Michi, gets bumped into by a passerby. She angrily tells him not to touch her, and he quickly apologizes. Michi's friend tells her to stop, guessing she's probably drunk. As Michi walks away, Hisao and Yoji watch Tsukasa ride, noting he seems really into it, despite his weird riding style. Suddenly, Hisao notices something is wrong. Tsukasa's expression has changed to one of pain and panic. Tsukasa is in agony. He thinks he's going to have a bathroom emergency right then and there. He curses himself, calling himself an idiot for believing in that woman, and desperately looks for a toilet. Michi's friend calls Tsukasa a crude name, but Michi seems frustrated, saying she spoke to him so nicely. Meanwhile, Tsukasa, in tears, laments how frustrating the world is as he clutches his stomach. With no other option, Tsukasa slips into a dark alley, intending to relieve himself behind a trash can. Just as he's about to go, he's violently grabbed from behind and lifted into the air. He looks down to see it's Miss Michi and screams her name in shock. Tsukasa is on the ground, his pants partially down, as Miss Michi looks down at him, asking what's wrong. Tsukasa is utterly bewildered. Michi, hiccuping and clearly drunk, asks what he's doing. Tsukasa stammers, trying to introduce himself, but she recognizes him first. Embarrassed, Tsukasa explains that he changed his hair. Michi squints, saying she guesses he does look a bit different. His new, terrible haircut made him almost unrecognizable. The scene cuts to Kumi, who is frustrated that her second-hand scooter is broken and that the others are always leaving her behind. Her frustration turns to fear when she spots Hiro from the rival Knights gang. Terrified, Kumi screams and runs away as if she's seen a ghost. She hides behind a trash can, laughing hysterically in fear and wondering why she had to run into him now of all times. From her hiding spot, Kumi's fear turns to horror. She witnesses Miss Michi pulling Tsukasa close and kissing him passionately in the dark alley. She can only stare, completely shocked. A flustered Tsukasa blushes, whispering Miss Michi's name as she looks at him intensely. She then takes his hand and begins to lead him away. Michi leads a confused Tsukasa toward the building. He's shocked to see it's the Hotel Parco, a love hotel with prices listed for a rest and a night. Kumi, who has followed them, watches in despair. Tears stream down her face as she realizes Tsukasa must still have feelings for Miss Michi. She collapses, feeling that she can never win against her, no matter how much she tries. Hiro, having witnessed Kumi's heartbreak, is seething. He glares at the hotel, his face contorted in pure rage as he curses Tsukasa. Hiro's friend tries to calm him down, but Hiro explodes with anger, questioning why Tsukasa would go into a hotel with a beautiful woman. He vows to kill him. Elsewhere, Hisao and Yoji are waiting, wondering what their idiot leader Tsukasa is doing. They note that it's been almost an hour. The friends find Kumi sitting alone on a flight of stairs, crying her eyes out. They rush to her side, asking her what's wrong. After finding out what happened, Hiro looks on grimly. He says that idiot Tsukasa still doesn't understand anything. He decides they have to stop this before it goes too far. Hiro gathers his gang, a dark and determined look on his face. He declares that this is something they can't take back, and that Gokuraku Chou must pay for their sins. In a moment of rage, Hiro sees a symbolic image of Tsukasa bound in chains. Yelling for Tsukasa not to do anything stupid, he shouts, "He's here," as he prepares to lead the charge.